and I can edit that document at any time. What you start out with and what I've sent you guys is mainly just talking points. Their benefits, instantly employers going to know, or they might not even say it out loud, but what's in it for them. What I always tell them is, I want you guys to have a voice into what I'm training, and I want to have an agreement into what we train. So of the few I've got signed up already, I customize that. So when you send your form in, the Department of Labor will send you back something that's kind of auto slugged, but that doesn't mean that it's correct for the business. So I was able to take, for example, on mine, it might have a TIG welding in it. So I'm a little bit sick too, sorry my voice. So I put, you got on the job learning hours. So those are the business based ones. So I was able to edit those. You can edit those down. This is an editable document. I want to keep my first registered apprenticeship program around 2,000 hours because you have to track completion on this, which you already do that with. I already do it in internships anyways. They turn in time logs, but now I'm just putting in the rapid system. So it's not that much more. And then you have training hours in your classroom. So my training hours for all these programs is around 550. You can go over that. But the reason I chose that number was it kind of fit because usually they're not set into an apprenticeship or even an internship until their senior year. We all run around 1,080 hours of training with 2 years, 540 each. So I wanted to make sure I at least reflect a true 550 or 540, I could say on that. But you can go over it, but they want your numbers to match on that. I still train processes that maybe you wouldn't see in industry. So if I placed them at, say, Viking Savase Midwest, they make snow plows. Well, I train TIG welding, but they don't TIG weld there. So I put that still in my core curriculum on the registered apprenticeship form, but I edit it out of their document because I know they're not going to on the job learning for that. So, but I also want to make sure that there's an SMAW section. Well, it's manufacturing. For that specific industry, you're not going to have that. You might have some different forms. You guys all teach different things. Construction is, tons of endless stuff in there. You might send somebody out to be working on a frame crew, but they're not going to have electrical, but you still want to have electrical exposure in your course. So you can edit a lot of those, and you can not all apprenticeships are going to look the same, even if you're an instructor for one course. So they all could be different. Some of the other things I looked at, when I talked to them, was just the partnerships. They do want to show wages in there. Wages are something that they really need to be, and that was a good too. They really need to be agreed upon. And I wanted to have, I don't want to undersell my kids, but I don't want to say, hey, hire them in at the highest value. And then if they're not working out, you got to get rid of them, right? So I'd rather that going in, knowing you got to put a little bit of training time, a training dollar in, so to speak, and have that agreement. And it does have to show an incremental increase over the course of the registered apprenticeship. So mine show 4 raises within 2,000 hours. So one employer tops out, as an apprentice, once they go through the program, they're guaranteed to be at $17, which is it's a fair, for this area, it's a fair wage. So that's an 18-year-old's wage. That's a pretty good deal. Other employers are less, other employers are more. So it goes on based off their industry. I got one that works he's a sub of a sub. So they're half cut. So he's a little cheaper. They can't afford that much. Now, the big benefit to you in the school, one is the formalization. There is going to be, this is a trackable program. So that's what everybody wants, data, right? You want to be able to see the data, show me the money, so to speak. It does make you be tethered to these kids longer than your graduation time, which I know everybody at Harbor Freight Tools for Schools, they do that anyways. You communicate with your kids way past graduation, but we need to see what they're doing. We need to be active stakeholders in them. There is dollars coming to this, and that's what show me the money, right? Everybody's excited about that part. For me too, my biggest fear was this. I love what I do, and you guys all love what you do. And the biggest fear I have is the day I quit, I'm the captain of the ship and it sinks when I step off. I want to take these agreements and make it turnkey for the next person. A good captain can step away from a ship that sells. So that's what I want to do. I want to have all these things established. That way, the next person that has my job, they can say, these are who I go to. These are the agreements we agreed upon. So it makes a more formalized process. It makes it easier. Nobody's keeping secrets from each other. Although sometimes it's hard to give away all your fishing holes, so to speak, but I'm giving them away. It's just time. There is a apprenticeship act going through Congress now. Federal dollars is going to this. In Missouri, there's already Missouri Youth Pre-Apprenticeship Program. So I just submitted a grant Monday for that for $75,000. I partnered with Workforce Development Board, which I highly suggest if you guys do not work with your local Workforce Development Board, get involved with them. I have around my graduating seniors around 20, we'll say. So it's somewhere around that would be pretty close. So in 2 years, our local Workforce Development Board have given my kids $500,000 in post-secondary education money. They get, and that's not a FAFSA deal. That's like private school. We go to privately held welding schools. They pay for tuition. They pay for food, housing, gas stipends. Had a kid that didn't lodging. Had a kid that didn't have tires. He bought him tires. Had a kid that had a breakdown. They fixed that for him. They really try to make it successful. What they want is trackable data. So they always, the guy I work with says, he likes me because I'll put skin in the game. It's not just, hey, here's some kids, give them some money. You know, they're rated on their performance rate too. So if I send a kid through there, I will actively track and place that kid and get on to them if I need to. You have to do that sometimes. But my wife, I was talking to somebody a couple days ago, about a little while ago, and she said I was getting on to him, and she stopped and said, how old is he? And he was like 25 or 26. And she said, do you ever stop talking? I said, no. I mean, just sometimes a kid just got to be steered right. But he was at an employer I knew, and they called me and said he's messing up. So, I had to get him right. But so the Missouri Youth is different. So that's the one I just applied for, Missouri Youth Pre-Apprenticeship. Your state will probably have something coming out if it doesn't already. They $75,000, $25,000 of that would be for the developmental process. So I'm not a greedy person. I like money, but I need help more than anything. So I partnered with a local Workforce Development Board. We wrote it together. I made a Google Doc. We made a sharing document, cranked that thing out in a week and a half because we got it and I had to get it done. I used all the developmental funding as a partnership. I want a Workforce Development Board member at our school as a shared partnership to help me get through the pre-apprenticeship because it doesn't require WIOA guidelines. So the WIOA guidelines, I want them to do all the fiscal financial reporting. I'll do the part where I track the kids. I get employer agreements because when it's outside of my craft, right, and that's the goal, when it's an automotive teacher, I don't know that kid. I can't track him. So it's going to trickle down where all instructors should be motivated to do this. What's the point of our classes if our kids aren't going to work, right? That's not a return on taxpayer dollars. And that's something that I've always tried to work on, and I can always have room for improvement. I cold call businesses. This process made me randomly call people, and it's got kids jobs. They didn't sign a registered apprenticeship program, but I just still had a smelter that's an aluminum smelter. Give a kid an internship. Now I want to make it a registered apprenticeship, but for $20 an hour, and when he graduates, they're going to give him $27 an hour. So that's fantastic. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't have this because I started pitching it now. But you know what? That kid's doing good, and I've already cashed the reel back. I'm going to get him on this. So you gotta work your time. With the other tier of the Missouri Youth, now this money just came available, and they was like, I got it and literally was due in 2 weeks when my boss gave it to me. $50,000 of that is for students. So they have to meet WIOA guidelines, so it's a little bit different. So they have to have, maybe some in poverty, some other things. So I'm going to look at Missouri Youth as this for me. Missouri Youth, register apprenticeship through the Department of Labor, my Gold Star kids. I've got, when you guys get into it, I've already got criteria meet with applications. I've got a deal where it's got teacher recommendations. They have to recommend a student. It says the guidelines they have to meet. I got transportation forms. I have tracking Excel spreadsheets. A lot of that I got through a mentor I had in the state, Cynthia Walker. And I'll be glad to share that with you guys. I'm going to ask her first. I know she's already let me do it before, but I think it's just due diligence. It got all that already developed. I mean, there's like 10 different forms that kids can use, and it makes you easily track them. The Missouri Youth side, back to that, was they might not be your Gold Star. They might be kids that need training. This might not. So what? And it doesn't necessarily have to be industry specific. So I met with the Associated General Contractors last week, which is a conglomerate of about 300 subcontractors, and they need horizontal construction workers bad, bridge workers, heavy highway. So I told them about this program, and they said they would like to partner with me if we can develop and we can get some funding for it, we're going to host classes for at-use risk. What I'm going to pitch is, or what I did pitch them was at-risk youth and maybe some CTC students that already meet the guidelines for WEO, which some will not. So some will be not allowed to get in it because of that. And I want to make an after-school training program for them where we could do it's a 240-hour training program for heavy highway workers where part of the Missouri youth money would go towards an instructor's wage, which could be myself, shared partnerships with somebody else. It's however it works out best for the students. Associated General Contractor would back it and hire the students that complete it. They can't guarantee it, but that's the goal, right? There's some things that I was a little bit less comfortable with, like there's some rigging stuff. They said they'll bring in trucks. Could I have any trucks? We'll bring in the flagging experts, rigging experts. They were willing to do anything it took to get this going. And that's kind of nice because, we need to get more people involved in skilled trades. And we have a New Horizons and Alternative Center, and that would be fantastic opportunity because heavy highway pays $40 to $50 an hour. I mean, what kind of a great startup is that? So if we can get that to some kids through some of this, I think that's the motivation, all the motivation I need to see it through. Once you guys get the forms out, so I got one form. This is your pre-apprenticeship. This is your registered apprenticeship form. You'd have employers fill that out. You'll send that into the Department of Labor, and then they'll send you a pre-slug deal, and they make it legit. My person put like company logos on it. I sent it back, and I was like, wow. I mean, it was awesome. Then you actually get a certificate from the Department of Labor saying your school is a registered pre-apprenticeship program with a Department of Labor number. So, but money's coming down. Great things are happening, and it's stuff that you guys are already doing. Just need to formalize it a little bit more to be privy to the extra finances and to make sure your employers know they have a say. Because I hear that all the time. Like, well, why don't you train it like this? Well, I'm giving you an opportunity now because they have to agree on the document that I send them. And you make the training outline, and then they look at it, and we've made tweaks. I mean, so it's fine. I'm willing to do whatever they want.
Brent, yep. I don't know a lot about this yet nationwide. Is this in every state or is it just select states, or
Every state. So the apprenticeship program is a federal program,
right.
And you can look at the Apprenticeship Act. It was back in the day, but they're rejuvenating it. The Missouri pre-apprenticeship program is Missouri based, but there's a lot of efforts in pre-apprenticeship. So Governor Mike Parson, our governor, sent down. They itemized $1 million to initiate this and make it more active. And that's how I got to apply for a $75,000 grant. And I wouldn't have got anywhere near close enough to be able to submit that if I didn't have a registered apprenticeship program already done. I had to show employer relations. I got all those documents. I could show commitment. Now, internship, I could have showed it, but I couldn't prove it. I could say, yeah, we've been doing this. Yeah, we've been doing that. They want to see solid work. And I partner with workforce development. I don't have somebody to do all my data. So they said, we'll handle all the finance. And I'm giving them every penny of it. $75,000 goes to them, but $25,000 towards their salary to help me with, since we don't have a jobs for American graduate, a JAG position at the school, which I'm trying to get hard. They're going to act in that role, do all the financial reporting, and then the tier 2 funding, the $50,000, if I get selected for the grant, would go towards kids that meet WEOA guidelines. And what better to have than a WEOA representative helping me with it, because I'm not going to take federal dollars and then not report it correct, because then I'll be in jail. So I'm not doing that. I'm not willing to do that. But you have to get people on board quick. I had to marry the Department of Labor. I had to go through Workforce Development Board. I had to get employers involved. I had to get our central office okaying it. That's like an act of Congress to get it going quick. But I'm telling you, everybody on Harbor Freight Tools for Schools is on fire. If I email somebody and want something, they know who I am now. People respond quick, and they want it. They want some of the action. Trust me. You just got to start.
Jump in, Jody, before we get kicked out.
Okay. If I go to the Department of Labor, what am I looking for to find the program?
Registered Youth Apprenticeship Program. Registered Youth Apprenticeship Program. It might come back Registered Apprenticeship Program, but it is a technically the document would be a youth apprenticeship because we're not apprenticing adults. But that's it. And I have, like I said, I have a ton